What's up, everybody? It's your boy Kid Smooth back with one of those lunch break vlogs, man. And this one, I'm actually dedicate this one to the Weapon Wheel podcast. Shout out to Broken Games HD. A lot of you guys may not know this, but the Weapon Wheel podcast was not supposed to be what it is today. If you was going back, I remember when BG was first starting it and he was trying to get it together, what he wanted to do. The Weapon Wheel podcast wasn't supposed to have like a set amount of like a set panel. It wasn't supposed to be a set panel. I think it was only supposed to be one set person, obviously, as Broken Games, and I think somebody else, and maybe I don't know if it was Hardy or Bond, maybe not even Hardy, but everybody else was supposed to be a rotational panel. So every week would have been some complete different cast of people, and they would tackle different subjects. And BG would used to announce the panel as his guns, like instead of like everybody shouts. Let's get into intros. He used to announce the panel as his guns, some strawberry milkshake, and but. There was trouble trying to get what he wanted because he wanted to get all people that represented Xbox, people that represented PlayStation, PC, Nintendo, but he had a hard time doing that because I think the first episode, it was supposed to be the bomb lineup. I mean, the first episode of Weapon Wheel Podcast was supposed to feature obviously BG, me, I'm the best spot, of course, Red Dragon, Hard 8 Times, and I think somebody else. It was somebody else. But the thing about it, and BG would reach out to people, that letting people know who's going to be on. And the thing about it was Red Dragon, he was supposed to appear on the first episode up until we started, but he kind of just went MIA. And I think what stopped Red Dragon from going on there was the fact that Hard 8 was going to be on there, and this was shortly after the Red Dragon made that video when it was about the DirectX 12 and how he had a clip from or audio from Review Tech and audio from Hard 8 dismissing, I think not DirectX 12, but dismissing the cloud, and he had that in that video, so that caused a little drama, but. I think that's honestly the reason why Red Dragon didn't show up to that first episode of Weapon Wheel. We tried to get him on a week later, and he just kind of never appeared. So that's what happened. But believe it or not, and I don't want to sound like a jackass or anything like that, but there was a lot of people that backed down from Weapon Wheel Podcast, not for the sake of just because it was a Weapon Wheel podcast. Nobody knew it was going to become what it is today. People backed down because a lot of people didn't want to deal with Hard 8. It did because, a lot of people have issues with Hard 8 and Black Bond. There was a lot of people, nobody wanted to be like the next person exposed or the next person to get roasted or anything like that. And people wanted to avoid that at all costs. And you was to almost drop a milkshake, and people didn't want to go through that or sit in it. And a lot of people that we reached out to, it was actually perfectly fine with BG. Believe it or not, there were some unlikely names that we reached out that even thought about it that was going to come on this podcast. I remember reaching out to I remember reaching out to Dealer Gaming. He was gonna join episode of Weapon Wheel during our early days. I remember reaching out to Tim Dog. Everybody know who Tim Dog is, and Tim Dog told me, hey, I don't mind being on a podcast with you, but obviously I'm not gonna go on there with this dude. And I think he even said he wouldn't even mind going on a podcast if I was hosting a podcast and I happened to have like BG in there. But Tim Dog, he wasn't opposed to it, but obviously certain with politician, things happen where it wasn't a good look for him to come up. I even reached out to the Mooch. I reached out to the Mooch to get on that episode of Weapon Wheel, and he had the same idea. Like he wouldn't mind if it was something I was hosting, but with the other names, with Black Bond and Hard 8 being there, nobody didn't want to deal with it. So, and I'm sure BG, he reached out to Iron Wolf. I reached out to Iron Wolf. I reached out to Blackie Lebowski. I reached out to a lot of people, but obviously, with that, nobody wanted to deal with all that. So there was a lot of people that could have appeared on the podcast that just didn't because of certain complications. And this fat ass pigeon, honestly, is like hovering over me. It's kind of scaring me. Like, this fat ass pigeon. All right, so there was a lot of people that wanted to be that could have been on the podcast that didn't because of personal drama. And the thing is, like I said, it originally was supposed to be a rotating cast, but because BG couldn't get like a strong enough rotating cast, which led to repeats. So he kind of set into the people, the set of people that he have now, like Red Infamy, Jack Move Johnny. Like Jack Move, if you watch like the first 10-15 episodes of Weapon Wheel, Jack Move wasn't a part of it, but he kind of just landed a role in there. And I don't know what BG's goal or what kind of podcast he wanted to be. Now people look at Weapon Wheel as like let's say the bully podcast or something like that. People, like, when something goes, like, if some coonery takes place in somebody else's podcast, they'll compare it to like Weapon Wheel, and that's not what I don't think BG wanted for his podcast. I think he kind of had a idea of what he have. What's the other podcast he has? The Gaming Podcast Assembly. I think Weapon Wheel was supposed to be like that, but with stuff being happening and the show becoming what it is today and people being set on the characters and the personalities that are there today, it kind of just took on its own image and that blew up from there. But believe it or not, there was some people that we did reach out to that could have done it. I actually reached out, believe it or not, I did reach out to Crap Gamer before too. And like I said, and you'll think about it now and be like yeah, that would be like the first true L I've ever taken if the names I'm letting you know that we've reached out to that I've reached out to get on these podcasts, and it just never happened. And some of these people didn't show up due to loyalty, and other people just didn't want to be involved with the drama. But BG did have like a positive vision on what he wanted the Weapon Wheel to be, but it kind of took off on the image, and a lot of people didn't want to deal. I think after the first episode, featured Bond, Hard 8, me and whatnot. It's just nobody wanted to deal with it. So that was the case with the Weapon Wheel podcast, and yeah, that was pretty much it. It could have had some names on there that were very unlikely, but we could have happened. But a lot of people would have done these podcasts if, let's say, Hard 8 and Black Bond wasn't involved with the first two episodes. So I think if they weren't involved with the first two episodes, that would have gave people some comfort to go on. But since then, ever since Hard 8, I remember when BG hit me up to go on there the first time. Once I seen Hard 8 was in it, I was like, I don't know if I want to go on there. I'm being straight up. I'm being honest. I did not want to go on there. I was like, I do not want to be in the podcast with Hard 8 or Black Bond. But I was like, forget it. I was like, what's the worst that could happen? I was like, so I just suck it up and did it. And believe it or not, after the first episode of Weapon Wheel, I wasn't supposed to appear again or be a regular cast, because I wasn't on the second one, believe it or not. And I think the first one was when that whole crackdown thing people started. That's when they tried to expose me for like zombie and all sorts of shit. I don't know what happened. And I blame Mr. T-Tech for that. And we never got to talk to that, but I do blame Mr. T-Tech for that. But Weapon Wheel Podcast was supposed to be more like a Gaming Podcast Assembly, to my knowledge. And now BG could come back and tell you something completely different, but he would agree. I'm almost certain he would agree that the Weapon Wheel Podcast was supposed to be different from what we got now. And not to say that the Weapon Wheel Podcast is any bad or anything like that, but there was a different image for it And I think that's why he ended up doing the gaming podcast assembly to get closer to what he really had for Weapon Wheel. But I could be wrong, but that is the truth of about Weapon Wheel podcast in the early days, and why people did not want to go on, because a lot of people did not want to deal with Hard 8, and that the fact that we did reach out to Mooch, Crap Gamer, Blackie Lebowski, Iron Wolf, Tim Dog. We reached out to a lot of people. Red Dragon, obviously, who was supposed to be on there a couple times, and it just didn't work out due to the fact to certain names. But it is what it is. This video isn't like no taking shots at anybody. I'm just telling you guys what was the plans were earlier for when the show started. And I think BG had an amazing vision for the podcast, and he has a great show now. But what he had planned was supposed to be even bigger. But that's all I got for you guys from my lunch break vlog. Hope you guys enjoyed. My nose feels dry as hell. I'm hoping there's no boogers in there, but I'll see when I rewatch this video. If there is, shit, this video might not come out. Xbox is the best box, and I am the best spot. I'm out.